Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, November 14th at a few minutes after 10, and this is the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund Board meeting. Please note that in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting and to please make their presence known. Okay, seeing none. I will go to a roll call vote to open the meeting. Laura Schufeld,
Here.
Mark Milne,
Present.
Andy Northcross. Oh, I'm sorry, Andy Northcross. I'm thinking of when. Andy Kleiber.
I'm present.
And Mark Ells, present. Thank you all. Okay, moving from that to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public who wishes to comment? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to the topics for discussion. Topic number 1, grantees requests for release of phase 1 funding advance on CCR Holdings LLC, Linnell Landing at 50 Yarmouth Road, Hyannis, Mass. Consider execution of mortgage lien as sufficient security to advance 330,000 of 500,000 grant, request being made by Jake Dewey. So at this point, I will ask Jillian and then our attorney Galvin if they have any comment, and then we can proceed to an explanation by Jake. So Jillian, any comment?
Just the comment is the request is to advance, and this is the phase 1 component. We are still waiting for some documents, but the concept here would be if approval were permitted, you would put a contingent on the signature and the recording of some documents. And I will let Jake take it from there. Or actually, I don't know if Bob had anything he wanted to leave.
Yeah, Attorney Galvin, any comment at this time?
No, I guess I want the board to understand what's outstanding. The restriction on this property, which there's been a draft of for a period of months, apparently is with the state. And the state is, according to what I'm being told, looking for us to sign a copy of this, and then they'll complete their review. I would normally just offer a letter indicating that it meets with my approval, or as counsel for the trust board, and then and then have them complete their review. All the other documents are in order, and I do believe that we would be properly secured if the note was executed and the mortgage were delivered. But I do think that it's appropriate to have a holdback because it doesn't help us if we don't get all of this buttoned up, because we don't have a perpetual restriction until we have that restriction endorsed. So how much is really up to you all to decide? Mr. Dewey's been working hard to get it. Apparently there is some type of a holdup at the state. Jillian's probably more familiar with the communications with the state. They definitely have the document, but that's all we're waiting for at this point.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, Jake, why don't you give us an overview and then I'll go to board discussion.
Sure. I'll just give a quick summary. Just to go back, the intent was to advance $330,000 of the $500,000 grant at the beginning of the project, with the intent of saving the interest. We were deed restricting the existing units that are occupied to be able to advance that, so the trust was getting their affordability immediately with the existing units. Those units are occupied. We've certified them. Barnstable Housing Authority is monitoring those units. Construction is nearing completion. We had a little DPW mix up that's delayed us a couple weeks, but we should have people moving into the other units by the end of the year. I'm hoping before Christmas, people will be able to move in. We've started the lottery. But long story short, we have 90% of the documents signed. The bank has signed the subordination. We're ready to record the mortgage. The mortgage with the benefit to the trust, would be recorded for $500,000. Would be asking for the $330,000 advance we had tried to have come at the beginning of the project to support the funding. And so basically everything would be recorded. The insurance is in place. The monitoring is happening. I sort of have done everything. The certificate of good standing may expire again, but I did get one of those in anticipation of hopefully recording this, advancing those funds. So the request would be to advance it while we wait for this document to come back from the state. The state did approve it. Their legal team sent an email saying that it was acceptable. It needed to be executed. I've executed it. My bank has executed it. I think it's either between your office and town legal to sign and then send to the state for signature. But the hope was to, with all these items together, we would record the mortgage for $500,000, even though we're advancing $330,000, so we can, close the funding on the project. And then once the affordable units are occupied, as agreed in the grant, we would ask for the last $150,000 as agreed.
Hey, thank you. Move the discussion to board members. Laura?
I didn't even put my hand up.
Well, you turned on your
Anticipate.
mic, so I figured you were.
Okay, that's cool. So Jake, is it 330 or 350? Because your numbers didn't add up right.
It's 330 because what we agreed was a holdback of 20,000 for those currently occupied units. If people move from those, we would run lotteries. So that could be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Some of these tenants may not leave for a really long time. I don't know. So that gets held back no matter what for potentially a long time.
Okay, I was now that you reminded me, I remember that was the case. I don't have a problem. There is definitely a backlog at the state because there's 2 staff members that are now working on 1,000 units to approve that's coming across their desk. So it may take time. If you have a letter saying that legals, state legals okayed it, I think it's just a formality to get us to sign it, and then it may take a while to get them to sign it, but I think we're protected.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Andy?
Yes, sir. I concur. I'm comfortable going ahead with the funding of the project.
Okay. Any further comment by the board? Mark?
No, I agree. I'm comfortable with what's before us at this time.
Okay. Attorney Galvin, I'll circle back to you. Any modifications that you would advise before I ask the board, for first and second to move this forward?
No, I just want to make sure that everybody in the trust board understands that I think some of the affordable units were occupied by people that didn't go through the full lottery process. I did, in a perfect world that shouldn't have happened, but apparently the people are properly eligible to live in these units. I don't have any other comments. I think this makes sense and is fair and reasonable at this stage.
Thank you, sir. Laura, did you have another?
I was just gonna, I don't think Attorney Galvin was with us when we reviewed this, and we were aware that was the case and that they wouldn't be able to be counted on the SHI until it went through a vacancy and occupancy, and that's why the $20,000 holdback for the lottery that would have to happen at that time.
Yep.
Special circumstances.
Thank you. Yes, Jillian. Jillian, I proceed.
I'm sorry, I'm still having technical difficulties over here, sorry. I'm gonna close my video, but you can hear my audio, I hope. So the verification that we have on the 3 existing units that are currently occupied is coming from the Barnstable Housing Authority from Lori Fitton. And she verified the incomes of the 3 occupants or the 3 tenants currently on the holdback. again, as discussed, that would happen, we would not be releasing the 20,000 until reoccupancy of those units. So that would happen after the units, the occupied units are vacated and a lottery is done for the reoccupancy of those units. I hope that all makes sense.
Thank you. Okay, board. How would you like to proceed? Do I have yes, Laura, please.
I would move that the board authorizes the release of $330,000 and the after signing the regulatory agreement or affordability restriction and forwarded to the state for their signature.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Okay, roll call vote. Laura Schufeld,
Yes.
Mark Milne, Andy Clyburn,
Yes.
Mark Ells, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Can I ask just one quick follow-up process question? For the second phase advance, would you like me to come back to the board for a vote once the 2 units currently in lottery are occupied, or is that administratively done?
I'll defer to Attorney Galvin.
Sorry about that. Could you just say again, please?
So on phase 2, the last 2 units were currently in lottery, and the way the grant agreement was written, we won't have those funds advanced until those units are occupied by tenants qualifying, which will probably be sometime in January or February. Would you like me to come back to the board for permission to have those funds advanced, or can that happen administratively?
I think that should be board approval.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Any comment by the members of the board? Okay, seeing none, Jake, thank you, and proceed as advised.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, moving on. Topic number 2, continued policy discussion. Amends the trust rules and regulations to consider applications proposing deed restrictions of less than perpetual duration with assistance from special counsel, Attorney Galvin. At this time, I would ask Jillian and then to Attorney Galvin for a summary, and then I'll open to board discussion. Jillian? That's okay. Jillian, you're still struggling here. That's okay.
Do you want me to proceed?
Sorry.
Yeah, Attorney Galvin, I was going to give you the thumbs up there. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just wanted to summarize that we had previous discussion regarding the Commonwealth Builders Program. And the issue is that these have the shorter duration deed restrictions, but it is consistent with a statewide policy. So, Attorney Galvin can speak to some of the research that he did on that, but there certainly is precedent and particularly for gateway communities which are eligible for this program. The request has been bounced on a couple of different agendas now. So hopefully, if we can settle the issue in terms of what the trust rules and regulations allow for other than perpetual deed restriction, I think we could proceed and hear the application, but I'm gonna now defer to Bob.
Yep.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I kind of gave my explanation before. I just thought it was another tool in the trust board's, ability to address this issue. It's certainly for a niche type, moderate income household, first time home purchaser. This one only comes with the snafu that it's a 15-year restriction, which I checked with the coalition, looked at the statute, and I concur has been used in the past, and I think can be used successfully here without offending the Community Preservation Act. And that was my prior opinion. At the last meeting, I was asked to draft some changes to the rules and regulations. Jillian was kind enough to send me a Word version of it. I've done that. I sent that back to Jillian. When I was going through the rules and regulations, I found some kind of minor clerical issues, which I also fixed. If I could share my screen, I could show you what I've done if it would be simpler to explain it that way. I don't know if I have that ability to share screen or not. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I do. No, it's not turned on. If it's not turned on, I could probably explain my changes. So in the rules and regulations, which look like they haven't been updated in a little bit, I found there's still no definition of inclusionary housing or in lieu fees. I didn't add those in this draft, but I'd be happy to supply one if the board wishes. On page 3 of 4 of the rules and regulations, there's a term called use restriction. And that's where I began my substantive amendments. In the first use restriction, it says a restriction that runs with the land for a term of perpetuity, and I added the words or other lawfully permitted duration, and is recorded at the appropriate registry of deeds. So the amendment that I made was to allow a less than perpetual term if it was lawfully permitted. I also made some other non-related changes in that paragraph, which I thought might clarify some clerical errors. The next substantive change I made was on page 5 of your rules and regulations under section D1B, threshold requirements for funding. In that section, housing units created, rehabilitated, preserved with trust funds shall be restricted in perpetuity. And I added again the words or other lawfully permitted duration by use restriction with the use restriction surviving in the case of foreclosure. So it was the same concept that I needed to add before I incorporated in here. And under the same section, D1C, I added to the list of your priority projects that meet project eligibility requirements of the Massachusetts Housing Finance Agencies, which is also Mass Housing Commonwealth Builder Moderate Income Homeownership Program. Again, in your rules, you give priority to several different types of projects. I added this type of a project to the list of projects that will be given priority, and your rules don't require them to be given any type of priority within those categories, but it again adds it to the projects that you could fund. Those were the only substantive changes that I thought were needed to the rules and regulations. I did review the declaration of trust, which is on record at the registry, and the amendment, and I didn't see anything in the declaration of trust that required changes via a formal amendment. I think your authorities are broad enough in that document that they don't need to be changed. So I think with these rules changes and an opinion from me that this complies with the requirements of the community preservation law, I think you would probably be all set.
Thank you, sir, for that review. Our rules and regs, if you're looking for them, are attached to an email that had been sent to us. So you can certainly go in and follow along. Board discussion, Laura Schufelt?
Mark had his hand up, but that's okay. I would like to add not just the or what's lawfully allowed. I don't think that you could. It's a matter of debate whether it's allowed under CPA, and then only in development, not in acquisition. There has been no ruling, so I know others have done it, but Springfield also funds churches and homeowner repairs, which are not allowed under CPA. So Springfield's not a real good example. that's not to say I don't see the value of this, but I would add, after the, any other lawfully allowed, with the approval of the board, you know, with a vote of the board. So it isn't a given that, we would necessarily approve it. That would be my change,
Okay.
suggested change.
And Attorney Galvin, I'll circle back to you after each of the board members speak, and then you can comment on what's been suggested. Okay, Mark Mill?
Thank you. Yeah, I would support the use of our funds for this program and the modifications to our rules and regulations from that's suggested by Attorney Galvin with that added language that Laura just suggested as well. And perhaps we can get this back on our next agenda for action. Not having those changes in front of me here. I'd like to see those before we vote on it, but I would support using our funds for this type of program and including that in these rules and regulations.
Thank you. Andy?
I concur with what Mark just stated, sir.
Okay. So, Attorney Galvin, any comment on what you've heard?
No, I think that's a very reasonable edit. I think it makes sense. There will be no expectation that unless you specifically approve it, it's automatically gonna be approved. So I think that's a really good nuance to capture, and I think it's a good catch.
Great, thank you. So at this point, no action is proposed to be taken on this other than to refer this back to Jillian and Attorney Galvin for modification, distribution to us in a final draft form for review, and then ultimately potentially action at our next board meeting. Is that how we see proceeding with this? Yep, all right. I'm getting acknowledgement from everyone. Okay, so that's what I'll ask that you do.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay. Moving on to topic number 3, a pending application, development activity for the Housing Assistance Corporation at 268 Stephen Street, Hyannis. Asking $1 million to support redevelopment of 1.5 acre vacant cleared parcel as 50 condominium ownership units, with 40 of the units deed restricted for sale to first-time home buyers earning no more than 100% of the area median income via the Massachusetts Commonwealth Builders Program. And we have David Quinn with us, but initially Jillian and then to Attorney Galvin. A quick summary, and then we'll go to David.
Well, just the application is complete. David had been waiting through a couple of meetings patiently, and I think given those changes to the rules and regs, it does make sense that you would hear this today. So I will let him take it and not waste your time with me jabbering.
Thank you. Attorney Galvin?
I concur. I think hearing the presentation now would be appropriate.
Thank you, sir. Okay, David, you're up.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to consider that rule change. We appreciate you considering it. We think this is a really unique opportunity for us with the Commonwealth Builder Program. So, you know, I think we know the town has been supportive of this project, and this, you know, allowing for the potential for funding is also a great step here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if I can. Well, it looks like I don't have sharing turned on, but yeah, so if that can be turned on, great.
David, just sorry to
Yeah, go ahead.
Jillian, who has control over allowing sharing?
I'm gonna pass to David that question because it looks like I could share my screen, but as you can see, I'm having difficulty with mine. David, could you, and this, I'm sorry, not David Quinn, David on the town side, I believe he's monitoring too.
And normally,
And I'm happy just to talk to, and then if at the end I can show
go ahead,
photos
Dave.
if I get that.
Quinn,
Yeah.
continue. Go ahead, continue, and if IT can help us adjust,
you.
we will.
So this is a lot on the corner of North Street and Stephen Street. I think everyone's familiar with this. This has been vacant for quite a long time. It's the former site of a car dealership. And so we're proposing 50 units, 40 of which will be restricted to 100% AMI. And so, that's eligible for incomes roughly between 80 and 125,000 would be the target buyer for these, with target price points between, the mid 200,000s to the low 300,000s. So the idea here is this is going to be providing an opportunity for people who really can't afford to buy a home on the open market, especially a single family home with the currently pricing of single family homes. But also we know there's not a lot of newer condo units on the market either. A lot of the existing condo stock in Hyannis and around the Cape is aged. So we're excited to be able to provide an opportunity for first-time home buyers to purchase a condo property at a price point that they could afford. And in addition, I think this is just a great opportunity to revitalize that section of downtown Hyannis. We're partnering with the town on this project. The town applied for a Housing Works grant to support the expansion of sewer infrastructure to the site, and that was awarded. We've been working closely with the engineering department to finalize those plans, which would put a pump station on our site, on our property, and provide an easement to the town for use of that. So again, it'll help provide some infrastructure to that part of town. And then regarding the Commonwealth Builder program, I think this is a special opportunity for Barnstable, because Barnstable right now is the only location on Cape Cod that allows for Commonwealth Builder funding. It can only be used in gateway cities or certain qualified census tracts. And so we've been looking for a location for a Commonwealth Builder project for a number of years. We've actually made offers on other properties in town, trying to get something going. So we were really excited to finally be able to acquire this parcel and move forward with planning on this project. It is within the new downtown village zoning districts. So it's a form-based code district. The project's already gone through the formal site plan review planning approval process. Took the better part of a year working closely with town staff on a number of technical questions, but was approved a couple months ago. We also have approval from the Conservation Commission as well for being in proximity to a nearby stream. So we have all the approvals we need to advance towards a building permit. And we're working with our design team to get the designs to a level to be ready to submit for a building permit. We're targeting before the end of the year to be submitting for a building permit. And actually right now the plans are out for updated pricing with our pre-construction contractor, which is Delphi JKS, who's done a number of projects of this scale on Cape Cod and around the Cape. Let's see. I mean, that's at the high level. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for the town. And again, I think the funding from the trusts is really the last piece of the funding puzzle here. So we've already applied for Barnstable County ARPA funds, which we use for acquisition. We received $1.5 million from the county, which has already been used to acquire the property. We finalized that transaction in September. We have the Housing Works grant from the town. That's around 1.3 million. And we have a pending mass housing Commonwealth Builder application for $10 million plus an additional request for site assistance funds through mass housing, which would bring our ask to mass housing to $12 million. That's under review with mass housing, and part of what they're waiting for is to see what the final local contributions to the project will be before they make their final approval on that. So I think with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and if I do have screen shareability, I'm happy to walk through plans or budgets or whatever would be helpful to this board to talk through the project.
All right, thank you, David. Appreciate that. Board members, any discussion? Okay, yes, Laura.
Thanks. Thanks, David, for putting together a great application. I do, support the project. Obviously, I have concerns about the restriction and how, kind of this is more, we as a board will fill in the blanks, but I do know that upon request, Mass Housing does accept right of first refusal provisions in their restriction. I haven't seen the restriction for this program. And then also, I think we as a board need to set up a reserve account so that we can actually take action if after the 15 years. But this program is set up to specifically target first generation homeowners and folks from disadvantaged backgrounds. But in reading the marketing plan, there was nothing there that targets them or preferences that population. So I was wondering how you're going to meet that purpose of the program.
Sure, yeah. So as a part of our marketing study that we conducted, we reached out to we have a pretty extensive list of potential home buyers through some of our monitoring activities. So HAC monitors several hundred homes on Cape Cod. So we did a market survey. That was sort of our first step to identify potential home buyers that we're tapping into. So those would be existing applicants who were over income on some of the 80% AMI homes. We also have done quite a bit of outreach to local partner organizations, local employers. We are working on potentially developing a partnership with Amplify POC, a local nonprofit organization, to try to target specifically underserved populations. So that's sort of some of the stuff is in development, but the intention would be to try to reach out to as many local area groups as we can to make sure we're targeting all of the people who are local to Hyannis and potentially underserved populations. We are also expanding our staffing to bring in some additional outreach staff, specifically with this project and potential future homeowner projects in mind. It's a kind of a strategic decision on part of HAC that we're trying to continue to do rental projects, but also really focus additionally more on the home ownership projects. So we are bringing on an additional staff person that's going to focus specifically on community outreach and home ownership opportunities. So some of that stuff is a little bit in development that we're working on now and figuring out exactly how we're going to target specific populations. But that's a good question and definitely something we're taking seriously.
Okay, Attorney Galvin, you put up your hand, sir. Oh, sorry, Laura,
I just wanted to follow up. Are you anticipating preferencing or targeting or both? There's an allowance in the Commonwealth Builders to preference first generation home buyers and disadvantaged.
That's a good question. Actually, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Attorney Galvin?
Hi, good morning, Mr. Quinn. I was just wondering if you do get a copy of the restriction, it's going to be important for me to see it because obviously you need to make sure that it is consistent with what we're doing here. And I haven't been able to get the actual restrictions themselves from Lowell and Springfield, the other communities with these types of projects that were funded with CPA funds. So I'm happy to work with you or your council to kind of get that done and improved here too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to resend that. I think we did send that over.
Okay. Check.
But Jillian, I don't know. Either way, I will make sure we send that over. Yeah.
If I could, that was in the application, I believe, and I apologize for not being able to share this right now. but at any rate, that's in the separate email that I sent with the full application submissions. It should be in there.
Is that the last one that we were having difficulty accessing because of the size?
Yes, it was. So you received it by liquid files and hopefully.
Well, just make sure Attorney Galvin, and then we can, even regardless of the method, just Jillian, just circle around and confirm so we can see that, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, Mark Mill?
Thank you. And thank you, David. I think this is a great project at this location. To Laura's comments, I think it's important that we consider creating this a fund, and I would suggest that we take a look at what we have coming forward from the landing project and designating a portion of those funds to create a reserve for to maintain the perpetuity of the restrictions on these units, and see if that's something the board would consider adopting. And the other question I had was, what is the minimum local contribution in order to qualify under the Commonwealth Builders Program, and in what form can that local contribution take place in?
Sure. Yeah, I don't believe there's a minimum contribution. It's more about they want to make sure it's a feasible project, right? So they're going to want to see all the sources and uses. I think the town has already met the local contribution by partnering on the Housing Works portion of the project, I would assume. So really at this point, it's a question of just making the project feasible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Attorney Galvin, any further comment?
No, I'm just trying to locate that from Jillian.
Back to Director Milne, based on Laura's comment and then your comments, we have that under topic 7 as an item for future discussion. So I think it would be very advantageous if you could run a scenario, Mark, that you might believe is appropriate for the board's consideration, relevant to what you have both suggested. So when it comes time to have that discussion, we can also have it correspond with financially, what does that look like? And you've obviously identified for those who aren't aware of what Mark referred to, it is a new revenue source that we will have that will be there coming into the trust. So I think that would be helpful, Mark, in that discussion. Do other members of the board concur? Great, thank you. Attorney Galvin, if your support or assistance would be of advantage as we prepare something for the board's consideration. Jillian, please reach out to him, and even engaging Mark if we need to be able to have something as complete in draft as we can, because I do think that this is important. It's an opportunity that's in front of us, and certainly the more good information we have, the better decision we can make. Laura?
Sorry, I just checked my notes. I had to retract and move backwards for a minute. David, in your application, you checked off that it would be some of the funds would be used for acquisition. CPA and acquisition really is a interest in real estate. So
we take that
Is that
back. Actually,
okay?
I think that might have been an error or a previous thought process. We've already acquired the property, and we've used Barnstable County ARPA funds. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Attorney Galvin, in hearing what you've heard, and I know you don't have all the information, is this something that you would advise me that I can bring to the board for action at this point, or do we need to continue to take this under review and bring it forward at a future meeting?
I'm comfortable with you voting on it, but remember, you still have to approve your rules change first, and it'll be subject to finalization of documents. So if it's contingent on the approval of the rules change and finalizing documents, I'm okay.
All right. Board members, any further discussion, or do you believe action is appropriate at this time?
Sir, I would make a motion to move this to a vote contingent upon the rules change.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Laura?
I would just add, and the receipt of, complete documents. That's
Okay,
it.
so the two conditions as stated by
conditions.
Attorney Galvin.
Yes,
Okay, great. So, the first and the second with that modification can stand, correct? Okay. We'll move it to a vote then. Laura Schufelt,
yes,
Mark Milne,
Yes.
Andy Clyburn,
Yes,
Mark Ells, yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, David.
Great. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, take care.
Yep. Okay, moving on to topic number 4. Approval of the minutes from August 5th, 2024, and then August 10th. I'm sorry. October, I'm looking at 10. October 4th, 2024. We'll take each of these individually. The minutes from August 5th, 2024. Is there any discussion by the board relevant to those minutes? Seeing none, do I have a motion relevant to the minutes?
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Laura Schufelt,
yes,
Mark Milne,
Yes.
Andy Clyburn,
Yes,
Mark Ells, yes. Okay, moving on to the October 4th minutes. Do we have any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
second,
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Laura Schufelt,
yes,
Mark Milne,
Yes.
Andy Clyburn,
yes,
and Mark Ells. I will abstain because I was not at that meeting. Okay, moving on to topic number 5. Matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. Does anybody on the board have one? Yes, Laura, please.
I just have a question. Is there, if there's any, timing for another member?
I am trying to move forward with filling that, yes. So as soon as is feasible, I think you all know that I will recommend and appoint, but I need ratification from town council. So it won't be immediate, but I can certainly more broadly communicate it and see what sort of interest there may be. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence. Is there any correspondence, Jillian, that we would wish to discuss?
I had none. I take that back. Was there? I thought there was an FYI, but I'm not looking at it. Well, yes, I'm sorry. There was the response letter. It's a draft letter to the Spartan applicants, just verifying that we did vote to approve with contingencies. And I believe that would require Mark's signature before it's sent out. So.
Okay. And has Attorney Galvin reviewed the letter?
I am not sure. I
Yeah,
apologize,
just
Bob. Have
Attorney
you
Galvin,
seen
just
that?
take a glance. And
Yes,
as long as you
okay.
give me a affirmative, I will proceed, okay?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Jillian, I would like to ask under correspondence that we write a thank you letter to the departing member of the board, Wendy Northcross, for our review and then ultimately signature.
If I could, Mr. Chair, that we had a draft that I did circulate at the last meeting. And if you, I will bring that to you for signature today. Thank you.
Yeah, send it to me again. For some reason I missed that. I'm sorry. Did I review it and comment?
I don't believe you did. We, at the last meeting, I think, approved it, but thank you.
Okay, then it's a moot issue, so please forward it to me.
Will do.
Okay, did we adequately discuss topic number 7 already? Which is consider establishment of a fund set aside for future buy downs or purchase of deed restricted units or deed restrictions in order to preserve affordable units post resale. Do you think we're heading in the direction that we want to head? Any discussion?
If I might, sir,
Please.
the town had appropriated funds previously for the buy down of lip and hop units. Those were funds that were allocated to the Planning Development Department. So I think you have something of a precedent that you have done this before, just not through the trust. So hopefully that will be a comfortable fit.
Yeah, I would just refer to Attorney Galvin to look and then to have that discussion with Director Milne. And then to bring back kind of a comprehensive draft package to the board for consideration.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, our next scheduled meeting is Friday, December 6th, 2024 at 9 a.m. Any reason why that isn't something right now that works for people? Board members? Seeing no discussion, I will move to item 9, and that is, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, so Andy, can you go to a second?
Yes, sir. Second.
Thank you, sir. Okay, roll call vote. Laura Schufeld,
Yes.
Mark Milne,
Yes.
Andy Clyburn,
Yes.
Mark Ellis, yes. Thank you all.